Welcome to our top 5 gainers and top 5 losers analysis. Today is Friday, March 15, 2019. My name is JC De Guzman, and these are the top 10 stocks that we're going to talk about today. For the top 5 gainers, we have SMPH, SCC, FDC, DMC, and CHB. For the top 5 losers, I'll be discussing PCOR, AEV, Meralco, Security Bank, finally LTG. Okay, we will also be checking if there are some dividend announcements, if any of these stocks have any dividend announcements. Okay, so let's start it off with SMPH. Before we check the chart, let's check out first if there's a dividend announcement for 2019. So there's no dividend announcement yet for SMPH this 2019, but who knows? Last year, it sent out some dividends around May 4, 2018. So let's see. Let's wait until the end of March, or maybe within the first 2 weeks of April, if it will be announcing some dividends for May this year. But for now, there's none yet. So let's talk about the chart of SMPH. SMPH closed today at 38.4. Interestingly, it seems that the midterm support near 36.65 was observed when that price was hit last March 12. I think that was Tuesday. It served as a rebounding zone last Tuesday. That was 36.65. So the price managed to recover its position above the 10-day simple moving average, but the SMA is still below the 50 SMA. If you would like to see the 10 SMA moving above the 50 SMA, the price must inch closer to the resistance near 39.70. And when that happens, by the time, I think MACD will already be moving above the signal line. So that's your resistance, 39.70. The major support here is near 35.40. Alright. Today's recovery in price was supported with a significant volume. Not to mention it's Friday today. Okay, so this is one of those rare cases when an index stock would significantly close in green on a Friday. Because usually it's a red day on a Friday, especially if that Friday is the last trading day of the month. Okay, it's a window dressing day when that's the case. Okay, so there, and the ascent in price also came with a net foreign buying worth 172 million pesos today. Okay, so SMPH still has a low risk level. It managed to maintain a volatility score of 46%. So let's check the price volume review for SMPH. Remember, it closed today at 38.40, and its closing price happened to be its intraday high as well. And this closing price, which is the intraday high, is the exact price point that got the biggest volume and the highest, not necessarily the highest number of trades, but one of the price points that got the biggest or the highest number of trades anyway. So 38.40 receive 75% of today's volume. So because the majority of today's volume was registered at the closing, which happened to be the intraday high as well, then that makes my overall sentiment bullish. So in other words, there's a big probability for the price to continue its ascent. Okay, hopefully it will cross above the position of the 50-day simple moving average by Monday. Okay, currently the 50 SMA is at 38.70. So that's just about a 30 centavo fluctuation away from its closing price. So there you go for the SMPH. Now that's my overall sentiment. It's bullish. I am bullish on SMPH, and let's take a look at as well if SMPH is in the investment guide for long-term investing. And yes, it is. We still have an upside percentage of 15% on SMPH with a buy rating. Okay, so it's okay to enter a new position. If you haven't entered a new position on SMPH yet, make sure to follow your top-up schedule. It's okay to top up to add more shares. Okay, you should just know where to position your buying price. So it could be at 38.40 or a little bit higher on Monday. Okay. However, if it starts at a slightly weaker note, a slightly weaker momentum on Friday, I would suggest that you position your buying price near between 37.50 all the way to 37.70. 37.50 to 37.70. Okay? Only if it starts at a little bit weaker momentum on Monday. But if it starts at 38.40 and above, then try to check again where in those transacted price points within the first 15 to 30 minutes of trading, which of those price points have received the biggest volume and the highest number of trades. Okay, you need to reevaluate. Okay, and you may also request for my latest analysis of SMPH in our private clients forum. Okay, there you go for my recommended trade setups or action plans for SMPH. Now let's move on to the next stock in the list. We have SEC, Semirara Mining Corporation. Okay, let's see if it has some dividend announcements as well. Semirara has no dividend announcements yet for 2019. So SEC closed today at 21.60. It managed to maintain its position above the 10-day simple moving average after, for the past few weeks it was moving below the 10-day simple moving average, and now it managed to recover its position above the 10-day simple moving average. And this ascent it received support from the bullish volume, as today's volume closed above the 10-day volume average. SEC, however, is still not out of the woods because the shorter term moving averages are all below the longer term ones. When will SEC be officially out of the woods? Once it breaks out above this resistance near 29.5. Wow, that's a lot of things should happen first before it breaks out above that resistance level. So that's why it's all the more that you need to respect your trailing stop loss, especially if your average price is way above the current price of SEC. Okay, it's not that easy to break above these other resistance levels, because it has to break 2 more resistance points before it will break out above 29.5. Okay, it's not an easy fit for SEC. Okay, now let's take a look at the MACD. MACD is already bullish as it closed above the signal line already. If you are trading SEC, you may translate this crossover above the signal line and the movement of the price above the 10 SMA as an entry signal. Well, that is if you don't have SEC yet, you can do a test buy. Only if you are going to trade, only if you're going to do a short-term trading on SEC, do a test buy. Later on, I'm going to show you the price points that got the biggest volume and the highest number of trades. So you will know where to park your buying price. Okay. SEC has a moderate risk level because of its historical volatility score of 58%. Net foreign selling, it is a net foreign selling today at 6 million pesos. Okay. Okay, now let's take a look at the volume review. Remember, it closed today at 21.60 and 21.25 to 21.30. That's the range that got the biggest volume. Cumulatively speaking, that range 21.25 to 21.30, that received a volume of about 70, more or less 80% of today's volume. Okay, and cumulatively speaking as well, that range got the highest number of trades. So if you are interested to trade the name, you may want to be a little bit conservative on Monday. Try to observe if the opening price will start at slightly weaker momentum. If that will be the case, then step back, take a few steps backwards, and try to park your test buy between 21.25 to 21.30. But if it starts at 21.60 or higher, then my suggestion is that you reevaluate the volume review of SCC. And you may ask for my latest price volume distribution analysis in our private clients forum as well. Okay, there you go. So my overall sentiment on SCC is bullish, okay, because of the strong volume today. If you don't have, I already mentioned a while back what's my recommended plan of action. If you don't have SCC yet, you can do a test buy. Okay, you can do a test buy. Now let's move on to FDC. Philinvest Development Corporation. Okay. Philinvest. Let's see if it has some dividend announcements. No, nothing yet for 2019. So FDC closed today at 14 pesos and 90 centavos. Okay, and take a look at this one. A while back, I drew an uptrend channel, an uptrend parallel channel for FDC. Why did I do that? Notice this one. Every time the price hits this lower line here, the lower part of the channel, it bounces away. It bounces away. It changed direction. It changes direction from going to the south, now going to the north every time it hits this line. Okay, so there's a possibility now for the price to retrace somewhere here, so maybe around 14.30 or maybe 14.40, and if it will respect this channel here, if it will maintain how it has been reacting based on this channel, then it might rebound again once it hits 14.40, maybe 14.30 to 14.40. Okay, so this is how you can project the future behavior of the stock based on its historical price movement. Okay, there you go. So its main support still lies at 12.28. For the resistance, it has no historical resistance yet, so I can also draw a Fibonacci here so that you can we can plot the historical or the psychological resistance of the stock. So let me do that. Okay, so here. So 19.86. That's your psychological resistance. But instead of keeping your hopes too high near that level, I would rather continue monitoring FDC in respect to this upward parallel channel. Okay, remember what I mentioned to you a while back, the probability for the price to go down near 14.30 to 14.40 before it will bounce away, if and only if it will respect its previous behavior as far as this channel is concerned. Okay, there you go. We'll see on Monday because today's closing price was above the 10-day volume average. But take a look at this one. Last February 14, it closed with a staggeringly with a huge volume on last February 14 as well. But the next day, it wasn't sustained. In fact, it registered a red candlestick, and its volume was not even 50% of February 14's volume. Okay, so my projection might happen on Friday. Okay, it's possible for the price to go down all the way to 14.30 to 14.40. Okay, so there you go for FDC. Now, let's take a look at the range that got the biggest volume. Okay, here's what I see. My recommendation, okay, 14.90 got 50% of today's volume. Number of trades, 82. Now, if FDC starts at a price lower than 14.90 on Monday, my suggested range is between 14.80 and 14.90. On the other hand, if FTC starts at a higher price, higher than what? Higher than 14.90, my recommended range is between 14.90 to 15 pesos per share. Okay? All right, remember that. Today's net foreign is a net foreign selling worth 31 million pesos. Okay? Let's see. Year to date, what's the it's a net foreign selling year to date for FDC. My overall sentiment on FDC is neutral to bearish. Yes, I'm a contrarian despite the presence of a green candlestick and this volume above the 10-day volume average. Where did I derive then? Where did I derive this neutral to bearish sentiment? Where is this overall sentiment predicated? It's influenced by my observation on the past behavior of FDC when I plotted this parallel channel. Okay, so there are many ways to come up with a data-driven projection of the next price movement or direction of the stock. Okay, so here is another method. You can apply it as well on other stocks. Okay, we are not limited to using the 10 SMA and MACD combo. Okay, there you go. Now, if you, let's say you don't have FDC yet, do I recommend that you trade the name, that you trade the stock? Not yet. Not yet. Get some confirmation on Monday if the price will really retreat between near 14.30 to 14.4. If it does, try to do a test buy. If it will, there's a if it touches 14.30 and between 14.30 to 14.40 and it holds within that range, then I would suggest check the price volume distribution chart and do a test buy. Okay, if this pattern will if FDC will be consistent in this with this pattern, then the price might just rebound from 14.30 to 14.4 to a higher price. Okay, however, if it starts at a price lower than 14.30, then postpone all plans to trade FDC for the meantime. Okay, that's how you should reevaluate. You should reevaluate the situation indeed. Okay, now let's talk about DMC. Okay, DMC closed today at. Oh, before we talk about the chart, let's check first if it has some dividend announcements. No, nothing yet. So let's go back to the chart. DMC closed today at 12 pesos and 40 centavos. Wow, it managed to break out above the midterm resistance at 11.90. Okay, and it did that with a bullish volume that's also above the 10-day volume average, foreign investors liked it because they registered a net foreign buying worth 32 million pesos. Okay, DMC still has a low risk level with its historical volatility score of 49%. DMC is still not completely bullish because the 10 SMA is still below the two longer term moving averages. Here's what here's my additional synthesis for DMC. If we would like to see DMC continuing its upward direction with a strong momentum, we prefer to see the price breaking out above 13 pesos per share. When that happens, by the time the 10-day simple moving average could be already moving above the two longer term moving averages. Again, when it hits 13 pesos per share, by that time perhaps the 10 SMA has already crossed above the 200-day SMA, including the 50-day SMA. So that's the preferred picture. Okay, now that's the preferred picture, but the market does not move according to what we prefer, according to our preferences. So you better be on top of your trailing stop loss so that you have a fallback just in case the market does not conform with our data-driven expectation or forecast on DMC. Okay, even though we see a green candlestick backed with a bullish volume above the 10-day volume average, even though we see support coming from the net foreign buying score of the foreign investors today, there's still a possibility for the price to revisit the previous resistance, which is now the support at 11.90. Okay, so there you go. Now let's take a look at the volume review for DMC. Remember, it closed today at 12.40, and this exact price is also its intraday high, and it got 72% of today's volume with 151 trades. So even though I was risk averse with my discussion on the chart of DMC, what I'm seeing now on the volume review of DMC is a bonus point for the bears or bulls, for the bulls. Why? Because the price point that got the biggest volume and one of the highest number of trades is the closing price, and the closing price is also the intraday high. Okay, so that quite balances my so bullish sentiment on DMC. And because of this, because of what I see on the volume review of DMC, that's going to influence my overall sentiment on this stock. So that makes my sentiment bullish on DMC. Okay. Nonetheless, there's still this risk-averse part of me that would want to advise you to monitor the price movement of DMC on Monday, particularly within the 15 to 30 minutes of trading. And who am I talking to? I'm talking to the short-term traders. Okay, that's why I'm giving you some specific time frame when you should do the monitoring. Okay, so if it starts at a price equal to 12.40 or higher, then perhaps that's already a signal that traders still would want to buy the stock up at a higher price. But if it starts below or lower than 12.40 on Monday, and the demand to sell continues to increase as trading happens, especially right after the 30th minute mark, then perhaps the other scenario that I gave you a while back, it might happen. And what is that? Revisiting the price near 11.90. Okay, so what I'm teaching you actually, my dear clients, what I'm teaching you is, even no matter what overall sentiment you will derive from your analysis, it's always important to to come up with a plan on a bullish and a bearish scenario. Okay? Even though your overall sentiment is bullish, you will still have to come up with a plan just in case your data-driven bullish sentiment will not be followed by the market by the next trading day. Okay, and that's what makes a trader profitable. It's not only about discipline but also being proactive on in knowing what you should do even before it happens. Okay, the good side of this is that you are limited to two different scenarios here, so it's not really that tough to make a plan. There are only two possible outcomes here. It's either the price will continue to go up or it will continue to go down. So it's not really that tedious to come up with an action plan when the bearish case scenario or the bullish case scenario happens. Okay, so it pays to be proactive. There you go. So there you go for DMC. So if you don't have DMC yet, okay, considering everything that I've told you about the DMC, you can do a test buy. Okay, park your buying price at a few fluctuations lower than 14.90 if DMC starts at a price lower than 12.40 on Monday. Okay, then I think DMC is also part of our investment guide for long-term investing. Let me double check on that. Yes, it is, and we still have an upside potential of 40%. If you are into long-term investing, you don't have to do the active monitoring. Okay? You don't have to do the active monitoring. Stick with your top-up schedule, but do not buy at any price. Do not buy at any price. Make sure that you refresh your browser so you can see the latest price points here. Okay, in these first five columns, that you can use as your candidates for when buying. Okay, your candidates when buying. Okay, that's my suggestion. Okay, now let's move on to the next stock in the list. We have CHP. Okay, CHP has no dividend announcements yet for 2019. Okay, now CHP closed today at 2.75 and it already closed. It's actually on it already closed 1 centavo higher than the resistance near 2.74. But if we are not that strict, actually CHP is still on the exact same line where the resistance is. Okay, so if today's green volume, which is above the 10-day volume average, will be mirrored or duplicated on Monday, then for sure we will see the price higher than 2.75. Okay, and for those who have CHP, that's what you prefer to see the price higher than 2.75, not only because it's favorable to you, but that will make the 10 SMA cross above the 200-day SMA. Okay, because the position of the price relative to the moving averages is a good indicator if the price is moving in a bullish or bearish momentum or direction. So these are the confirmations: the position of the price relative to the position of the moving averages. Okay, foreign investors registered a measly amount of 6 million pesos worth of net foreign selling. Okay, MACD still moving above the signal line. So like what I've mentioned, we prefer to see some continuity on the bullishness of the volume so that the upward momentum will become stronger. Okay, and CHP has a moderate risk level because of its volatility score of 64%. Okay, let me plot a horizontal line here so we can come up with a projection. Okay, so see this. Okay, there's a possibility for the price to break out above 2.75. Okay, if only if the continuous registration of green candlesticks will be supported by a bullish volume above the 10-day volume average. Okay, so that it won't break down below this inclined parallel line. Okay, parallel channel. All right, so that's it for CHP. Now let's take a look at the volume review. CHP, again, it closed today at 2.75, and the closing price, which happens to be its intraday high, received 30% of today's volume, and it also got the highest number of trades. Now, if CHP will start on Monday at a price lower than 2.75, I would advise that you monitor the price between 2.65 all the way to 2.70. Why? Because that's the second range that got the next that's the second range that also got the biggest volume and the highest number of trades, cumulatively speaking. Second to 2.75. However, if CHP starts at a price equal to 2.75 or higher, then you reevaluate the volume review. Evaluate the price volume distribution of CHP, so you can catch the range, the new range that got the biggest volume and the highest number of trades, so you can park your test buy within that range. Or again, you can post a request in our private clients forum so we can post our latest analysis for the price volume distribution of CHP. Okay, so if you don't have, my overall sentiment on CHP is bullish. If you don't have CHP yet, you can do a test buy by considering those things that I've mentioned when I was discussing the price volume distribution analysis here. Okay, now if you already have CHP, by now you already know my answer to that. Know where your trailing stop loss is. Okay, or if your alternative option is, you may want to observe is if the resistance near 2.75 will if it will break out above 2.75, because historically speaking, remember CHP tested the resistance at 2.75 in the first week of February, but it failed to cross above that borderline. Okay, now it's once again testing the resistance at 2.75, and we will see if it will successfully break out above 2.75 this time. Okay, so consider those scenarios. It's either you follow a trailing stop loss system, or you keep an eye on this resistance, you do profit taking here, maybe in tranches, sell in tranches. If it starts to go above with volume, at least you're not yet totally out of the game. You still have a few tranches in your portfolio. But if it breaks down again below 2.75, well, at least you already raked in some profits when it hit 2.75. Okay, so monitor this resistance at 2.75. All right, so next, we are now down to the top 5 losers. Let's start with Petron Corporation. Okay, does it have some dividend announcements for 2019? Yes, it does. Okay, March 22, 2019, cash dividend 10 centavos per share, and the ex-dividend date is on March 22, 2019. For those who are asking if they will get dividends, if they will buy on before or after the ex-dividend date, or if they will sell on before or after the ex-dividend date, then here's my answer. if you will buy before March 22 and you hold those shares up until the ex-dividend date, then those shares will receive this cash dividend. Now, if you will buy on the exact ex-dividend date on March 22 or after March 22, all of those PCOR shares will not receive the dividend. Okay? Now, if you will sell before March 22, those shares that you've sold will no longer receive the cash dividend. However, if you will sell on March 22 or after March 22, okay, those shares will still receive the cash dividend. Okay? So take note of those on, before, and after scenarios. Okay, now let's talk about the chart of PCOR. Let me magnify this one. So PCOR closed today at 6.52. Unfortunately, it broke down already below the support at 6.60. Did I already discuss PCOR in my previous top 5 gainers and top 5 losers analysis videos? Let's see. This is the first time. Okay. So here, the main support of PCOR now is near 5.54, and the previous support at 6.16 now acts as its resistance. Okay. How likely is it for the price to continue moving downward? I see a big possibility. Why? Take a look at today's volume. Today's volume is by far the biggest volume since, let's see, oh wow, I think we will have to adjust all the way to, so here's my chart. I am already all the way to 2008. Take note, it's 2008, not 2018. But today's volume is by far the highest since 2008. Okay, this is the longest bearish volume since 2008. That's why I am real as early as now. I'm telling you I'm bearish on PCOR. But there's another side of the story that might happen on Monday. What is that? If PCOR traders think that PCOR is too cheap already, now that it is at 6.52, there's a possibility for some traders to buy the stock, for some traders to buy here near 6.5 and make that as the new support line. That's another possibility. Only if traders think that PCOR is already too cheap to be ignored. Okay. Another possibility is for the downtrend to continue. Okay. If PCOR traders do not see any positive catalyst that would make them want to buy back what they have sold today, Friday. So to get a confirmation, I would suggest that we all have to monitor PCOR on Monday if we are interested with the name. And I'm actually interested with PCOR given this drop in price. You can really make some good money if we spot that traders are already buying near 6.50 all the way to 6.40. It could already rebound from there. Okay, but if not, if the descent in price continues, then we will have to wait until 5.5, until it hits 5.5. Okay, so let's just be alert on what we see on PCOR's chart, especially on its volume. Take a look at this. This bearish volume came with a net foreign selling worth 298 million pesos on PCOR. Okay, it was the foreign investors who drove the bearish volume at this level today. Okay, so PCOR has a low risk level because it still has a historical volatility score of 22%. Okay. Now let's take a look at the volume review for PCOR, and again it closed today at 6.52, and that is also its intraday low. Notice this one. 6.52 got 93% of today's volume, and that price point also got 257 trades, which is the highest trade registered for today. So it's all the more that I am now bearish on PCOR because of what I'm seeing on its price volume distribution table. Okay, so monitor the price lower than 6.52 on Monday. And monitor as well because some buyback activities might happen between 6.4 to 6.5. So we just have to be quick enough to react on what we see on the market when that happens. Okay, so that's it for PCOR. Now let's take a look at the next stock. We have AEV, Aboitiz Equity Ventures. Okay, AEV, let's check if it has some dividends. It has a dividend announcement of 1 peso and 32 centavos per share. The ex-dividend date is March 18, 2019. Okay, I already gave you the on, before, and after scenarios a while back from the previous stock. So just replay that part so you will know if you will receive dividends or not, if you will buy or sell on, before, or after the ex-dividend date. Okay? Alright, so let's move on to the chart of AEV. Aboitiz Equity Ventures, or AEV, closed today at 56.95. And this drop in price came with a bearish volume that is higher than the 10-day volume average. Foreign investors also registered a net foreign selling worth 130 million pesos. MACD continues its bearish direction, and it has been in this way since January 24, 2019. It has been bearish since then. Okay, so now it just increases the possibility for, there's still a possibility for the price to consider 56 pesos per share as a rebounding area, as a rebound zone. But let's wait and see if it will indeed respect the support at 56 pesos per share. Okay, let's wait and see next week. So there you go for AEV. Now let's take a look at the volume review. AEV closed again at 56.95, and it happens to be its intraday low as well. And this 56.95 got 65% of today's volume. Here's my suggestion. Monitor the price close to 56 pesos per share on Monday. If you see that it respects the support level, and you still see, you also see some significant size of shares being bought near 56, you may want to consider doing a test buy, because it might just respect the support at 56 pesos per share. However, if the price is already below 56 pesos or at 56 pesos itself, and you don't feel any effort from traders that show that they are willing to buy the stock at a higher price, higher than 56 pesos, then be on a wait and see mode again. Continue monitoring. Don't rush into buying the stock at 56. Okay? You wait for some confirmed movements. You wait for some confirmed attempts to buy the stock at a higher price. Okay? Of course, you will have to reassess what you see on the price volume distribution. If you don't know how yet, post a request in our private clients forum, and we will do that for you. Okay? So there you go. There you go. Again, I am bearish on AEV, and I've given you some trade setups if you would like to trade the name. Now let's take a look at the next stock in the list. We have Meralco. Let's see if it has some dividend announcements also. Okay, no dividend announcements yet for 2019. So Meralco closed today at 370 per share. Take a look at this. After so many attempts to break out above 380 pesos per share, all of those attempts have been unsuccessful. See, it's a strong resistance indeed, right? Attempts, attempts upon attempts since the last week of February this year, still unsuccessful. But there's also a midterm support at this level. Okay, now if it breaks below 367 per share, that will increase the possibility of the price kissing the support at 355 pesos per share again. Okay, there you go. Today's bearish price came with a bearish volume as well, which is above the 10-day volume average. Foreign investors registered 14 million pesos worth net foreign selling. Okay, and let's take a look at the major support, by the way, after 367 per share is at 355 pesos. Okay. So what's the next resistance after 380 pesos per share? That would be 398 pesos per share. Okay. Now let's take a look at the volume review for Meralco. It closed today at 370. That price is also its intraday low, and this price got 70% of today's volume with 119 trades. What I'm seeing right now is an additional point for the bears that makes me form an overall sentiment of bearish on Meralco. Okay, so two things: monitor if the price will respect the midterm support at 367. If it does not, then wait at 355. Okay, if you don't have Meralco yet, that's what you should do. Continue monitoring for now. But if you already have Meralco, make sure you know where your trailing stop loss is. Okay, now let's move on to Security Bank. Security Bank has no new dividend announcements yet for 2019. Mind you, it announced some dividends last 2018 around April. Okay, it might just announce dividends as well, maybe until the last week of March or maybe in the first week of. Oh, we don't know. We don't know. It's almost April already. We don't know if it will announce some dividends for April this year. Okay, Security Bank closed today at 164.30. Support is at 160.3. Resistance is at 181.2. It's bearish. Security Bank is bearish, both in the short-term and long-term scales. For those who have Security Bank, what you would like to see is for the price to break out above 181.20. Okay, it will get a breather once it breaks out above 181.20, but at this level, it's still a stressful level for security holders. Okay, your hope, what you should hope, okay, if there's if it's a strategy, if hoping is a strategy in stock trading, you should not see the price breaking down below 160.3 or 160. When that happens, the next support is quite deep at 133 pesos. Okay, so this is the scenario of Security Bank now. And mind you, the foreign investors have kept on selling for how many weeks already? And for the 2019, it's a net foreign selling based on the bars that I'm seeing here. It's a net foreign selling year to date. Okay. Despite that, Security Bank has a low risk level with a historical volatility score of 38%. Okay. So monitor this range, this price point here, 160.30 or 160. If it maintains its position above here, above this level, then two things could happen. It will either bounce away or will just trade the range between 160 and 181. And trading this range has been what's happening since when? Since the second week of January. See this? See this channel here? Okay. So there. Now let's take a look at the volume review for Security Bank. It closed today at 164.30 and this closing price happened to be its intraday low. This intraday low, the closing price as well, got the highest volume today, 79% with 104 trades. That's the highest number of trades for one particular price point today. It's all the more that I've become bearish on Security Bank because of what I've seen on the price volume distribution table. Okay, so if you don't have Security Bank yet, monitor near 160. If it breaks down below 160, monitor maybe somewhere here, 152 to 153, this level. Okay. Now, if it breaks down below 152 or 152 to 153, then you start waiting near 133. Okay, so that's the hierarchy of the support levels. Now, if you don't have, if you already have Security Bank, okay, and depending on whether you are into short-term trading or long-term investing on this stock, if you are into short-term trading, make sure that you have maybe it's up to you actually on what percentage of risk tolerance you're going to apply. But for me, sometimes in most cases, I only apply between 5 to 10%. Most often than not, it's just 5%. Okay, so know where your trailing stop loss is if your percentage of risk is also at 5%. But if you are into long-term investing on a Security Bank, okay, let's take a look at our investment guide for long-term investing. I think it's part of it. I still have a buy rating for Security Bank, and the upside percentage is at 76%. Okay, so if you are into passive investing, okay, passive investing, this is not active trading. So if you are into passive investing or long-term investing, apply wide stops. Okay, do not apply 5% risk tolerance when you are into long-term investing, because if you do that, if your stop is just too small, it's too narrow, expect that you will get wiped out of the game too early. Okay, so have wide stops when it comes to long-term investing. Have short stops when it comes to short-term trading. Okay, how long is long? Maybe you'd like to ask that. Maybe you would apply 15% or maybe 20% risk tolerance percentage. Okay, it's up to you. You just have to calculate now where your trailing stop loss is. Okay, so you can tell if you should cut your losses or you can still afford to hold your position. Okay, but since for those who are into long-term investing, just monitor the long-term investing tab and see if it still has a buy rating or not. Okay, so that's it for Security Bank. Now let's move on to the last stock in the list. We have LTG, LT Group Incorporated. So LTG has no dividend announcements yet for 2019, and it closed today at 16 pesos per share. Major resistance is at 17.35, major support is at 14.60. Okay, it's still moving in a bearish direction both in the short term and long term period. Okay, it will only get some breather once it breaks out above the resistance at 17.35. By that time, the 10 SMA should already be hovering or moving above the 200-day SMA, and perhaps the 50-day SMA is already poised also to cross above the 50 SMA by that time. What's that time I'm referring to? It's when the price is already moving above the resistance at 17.35. today's red candlestick came with a strong volume as well, with today's volume is above the 10-day volume average. Let's see later if the price that got the biggest volume and the highest number of trades is also the closing price, and if the closing price is also the intraday low. And let's see later. Okay. Foreign investors registered a net foreign buying worth 3.5 million pesos today. LTG has a low risk level with a volatility score of 31%. MACD is still moving above the signal line. Okay. Let's see. The year-to-date net foreign selling, net foreign trade. Let's see if it's a net foreign selling or net foreign buying. Obviously, it's a net foreign selling for 2019 year-to-date. Okay. So for the price volume distribution, oh my suspicion was right. 16 pesos. The closing price is also the intraday low, and it also got the biggest volume and the highest number of trades too. It's all the more now that I am bearish on LTG. Okay. So my suggestion is this. My overall sentiment is already bearish on LTG. If you don't have a position yet, wait until the price hits this level, 15.5. What's so special with 15.5? That's the intersection between 10 SMA and 50 SMA. Okay. Now, if it touches 15.5 and there's still a strong demand or appetite to sell the stock down, then you adjust your waiting area at 14.60. Okay, that's my action plan for those who do not have LTG yet. This is not a stock recommendation, by the way, okay? I'm not telling you should trade LTG. I'm just giving you some trade setups, some plans, okay? Now, if you already have LTG, let's say you bought LTG when it was somewhere near 14.6 or 14.5, and you have a trailing stop loss of, you have a risk percentage of 5%. I think you should have already locked in some profits by now. Okay, so know where your trailing stop loss is. That's the golden rule. Okay. All right. So there you go for today's top 5 gainers and top 5 losers analysis. And I would recommend that you every single day, every evening, visit this tab, the short-term trading tab, and listen to these, watch these videos so that you are ready for the next day's trading, so that you have some ideas on which stocks might continue their upward or downward direction. Okay, there you go. So make sure that you also follow our social media channels on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn, Tumblr. We're also on Pinterest, Instagram. We're on SoundCloud as well. We're all over the place on social media. So there you go for this Friday's top 5 gainers and top 5 losers analysis. Again, my name is JC De Guzman. Have a great weekend. Have a restful weekend. Enjoy your weekend. Thank you.